Welcome to the Uncanny Women Podcast, where we have honest, year-round conversations with women and gender-diverse authors and filmmakers in horror. Here, we explore the voices behind the work and how lived experience shapes the stories they tell. I'm your host, horror writer and founder of the SoCo Women in Horror Festival, KJ Brantley. Now let's step into today's conversation and meet our guest. Today I'm joined by CJ Leede, author of Maeve Fly and American Rapture. Maeve Fly became one of the breakout horror debuts of the last few years, earning a Bram Stoker Award nomination and the Golden Poppy Award, Octavia E. Butler Award, and the Splatterpunk Award. Her third novel, Headlights, is releasing from Tor on June 9th. And she'll also be joining us as a keynote speaker for the 2027 SoCo Women in Horror Fest. CJ, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. And I'm so stoked and honored to get to be a part of the SoCo Women in Horror Fest again. And you all are just the coolest. I think what you're building is amazing.
Thank you so much. And we were so honored to have you as well as part of the inaugural event, although via live stream. And it's just great to continue that in person as a tradition from the previous year for 2027. So yeah, thank you so much for championing that and championing women in horror in general and the genre. And just what you've done in the past few years since Maeve Fly came out. I know it's been a longer journey. You've really done so much already for the genre. So how has the last few years felt for you since Maeve Fly really took off in the horror spaces?
Crazy. It's been amazing. It's been a bit of, it's been a whirlwind. I did actually push back my third book release by a good amount. I think it was 18 months between my second and third books, and I'm supposed to be on kind of a book a year schedule, but I was feeling like I was rushing the writing, and I know a lot of folks are able to put out a book a year, no problem, but I was really struggling to keep up with the promo and everything else. And so but I'm really glad because I felt like I just needed a little more space. So now it feels like I feel a little refreshed, like I'm excited to kind of come back and get to do a tour again and then, move on to the next one. But it's crazy. Like once you get so many no's for so many years and so much silence for so many years, and then suddenly it's like amazing. And also you're just like, oh my gosh, I can't stop, like this is like, I gotta keep going.
I can imagine that being surreal and a whirlwind. And I'm glad that they had the patience with you so that you can continue to bring out such amazing, great work. I was lucky enough to read an advanced copy of Headlights. It was so original, gritty, and emotionally devastating. I couldn't put it down. And it honestly felt very intimate, as well as almost like intimately experiencing what Daniel Stansfield, the main character, was experiencing. Like you really got into his head and in a really almost dreamlike fashion. And it was beautifully done and so unlike your other books in some ways. So what initially pulled you toward Headlights?
Thank you for saying all that and for reading it. I feel like I've put out 3 very different books, and so each time it feels like I feel like I'm asking my readers, like, hey, please take a chance on something very new, please, don't go looking for something I've already given because it won't be there. And so there's always this unknown of, if anyone's going to like it. So it's really nice that people are just reading it now, and it feels like such a relief. But I think with Headlights, I knew early on that I wanted to do 3 very different books because I wanted to build a career in which I didn't feel pigeonholed. And I felt like I saw with Maeve how that really very easily could happen. That folks were like, okay, so she's like this femme gore author, she's this author, and like, of course that makes sense because I had 1 book out, but I heard those things and I love those kind of books, but it wasn't what I wanted to write every time, forever, every single year for the rest of my life. So horror to me is so magical because it's this huge umbrella. Like there's no set formula in horror, and there kind of is, even though you can play with them, but there's a formula in every other like genre, or at least like some formula. And I don't know, I think horror is so cool because it's just this open world and you can do anything within it, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of like you can take ingredients from every kind of genre that there is, just mash it together in the, yeah, in a horrific way, of course, but because it is horror. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And to me, like that only means it really has to do with like death and fear and grief, which are things that we literally have to deal with like all the
Right,
time, you
right.
know? So
Hmm.
I think it's so beautiful that we can play and we
Hmm.
can grow and we can like stretch our wings and really kind of figure out who we are as authors as we evolve and within this genre. So that's kind of what I've always wanted to do. And so I thought if I did three very different books early on that were each kind of in a different kind of pocket of
Right.
this horror genre, that I might be able to create for myself a career in which, like, moving forward, I can keep playing and keep
Hmm.
hopping around. And they'll always have these sort of Americana through lines because I'm very interested in that kind of stuff and probably very similar relationship dynamics and, aesthetics. I feel like the aesthetic is
Hmm.
there. But
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it was fun getting to do three different, like, it just
yeah.
felt fun.
Yeah, and hopefully there will be many more, and you'll cover all the bases of horror that there are, and we have so much more to look forward to. So,
There's so much to do, right? Like
yeah,
it's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah, absolutely. And so, backing up to Maeve Fly for a second, really did feel like people connected with that book in a huge way. Did it feel surreal while it was happening, or did you have a sense early on that that book was connecting with people in a big way?
Yeah, it was weird because even with Maeve, I had so many rejections. So it was really one agent said yes. And I guess
Good
two
one.
editors. Yeah, the best one. The crazy thing with Maeve was, I was so nervous when it was leading up to publication. I couldn't eat. I was like so nervous. I couldn't sleep and I just had no idea what it meant to have a book out, because you don't. And it's something you want forever, or I wanted forever, and
Mhm.
then it was happening, and I was just suddenly terrified. I think there
Yeah,
was an,
'cause yeah,
yeah,
that is like, you don't have the foresight, you don't know, it could take people could be like, "This is crazy," or "Love it," and
yeah, and
yeah.
it's a violent book,
Mhm.
like there were scenes that were difficult for me to write. I don't even think it's that extreme. It's not, I wouldn't even really call it extreme horror, but in terms of horror, it's like it's pretty gnarly. So that was there. I thought I wrote a very feminist book, and it was interesting because like early on, I was kind of told it was anti-feminist by some people, which was wild to me. The reactions were big, good and bad. And
Mhm.
it was like simultaneously people getting like tattoos for my book or sort of like reaching out with like art that they had made, like songs people had recorded, like really cool stuff. And then
Interesting.
also like I got death threats. I had like really weird, yeah, and I had
Oh my gosh.
early on too, like I had a few men sending me just like exactly what you can imagine a
Oh, of
man might,
course. Yeah.
So it was wild. It was like the
Mhm.
best things that could possibly be happening that felt so surreal. And also me being like, oh, I need to like make sure there's no trace of like where I live
Mhm.
on the internet. Do you know what I mean? Or like
Yes.
it
Yeah,
was like
that's
suddenly all of that at once.
yeah, wonderful and terrifying, and you're being more perceived. And also, yes, there are crazy people out there who have no boundaries. So I'm glad that you're, protecting yourself, and hopefully,
Thank you.
that's keeping a barrier from those people. But you have made such an impact, though, in a positive way for many people, even from that book alone. And I think a lot of people did, latch on to the themes that you explored in that. I think it's a very feminist piece of
Thank
work.
you.
You're welcome. And I want to actually dive into a couple questions about that I think leans into that a bit. But I want to go back to Headlights again. Without spoiling too much, what emotional or thematic territory does Headlights explore, or does it live in for you?
Headlights to me, and I don't mean to keep bringing the other ones in, but this was kind of
Oh, of
the
course.
evolution of the thing is like my first two books were such like sort of screams into the world, like, a lot of indignation, a lot of like, I don't like X, or I feel like this really bothers me or is wrong, or we should like adjust. And it was almost like after I wrote those two books where I just got so much out of me and off my chest, then
Mhm.
suddenly I was left with this just like hollowed out feeling. And I had this feeling of like, oh, I've been sad. That's what all of this
Yeah.
is like I've been sad. I've been struggling with grief. And so I think Headlights is a book that really just I had to kind of face head on, like, what is death? And where do our loved ones go? And can we reach them anymore? And do they want us to? And
Yeah.
so tonally, it's different. Like in some ways, it's darker, but in a lot of ways, I think this is a much more hopeful book and a gentler book and a sort of
Mhm.
like it's a sensitive book, if that makes sense.
I can, yeah, I can absolutely see that. And yeah, even the way you dealt with the child character, the child version of the main character, I thought it was definitely very, emotionally sensitive, and definitely people, I think intentionally compared to, I think, Stephen King and the way he handled things. But I thought you brought it to a deeper emotional level, as far as, you could really, it was actually, you did an incredible job of being able to balance the child character and the adult character. You felt like when you were in the child version's head, it really felt like it didn't feel like contrived. It felt like this is really the way a child would be thinking about this, or remembering or reflecting on this. And I thought that was just amazing. And you're right, it is more like sensitive book, but it also is very gritty, and there's some crazy things you can expect. There are those elements. And yeah, I totally agree with you. And I think people are really going to connect with this book as well if they haven't read it yet. So you had mentioned that you felt like there was this grief that you hadn't explored yet. You had felt empty after writing your previous 2 novels. Have you talked about before, what grief have you dealt with before? Is that something that you're open to talking about, or is
Yeah.
that, private?
Yeah, no, I'm happy to talk about it. I had the luckiest thing in the world, which was that I did not really experience death in my close circle of people I love until my mid-20s, which is, I've learned as an adult, like what a rarity that is.
Right.
And it's insane. Like I was so
But still,
lucky.
yeah.
I think when I turned 26, it started actually I had like 4 years in a row when it was like on my birthday weekend too. And sometime in my mid-20s, I lost so many people and dogs. And like, it was just the wildest. Like, suddenly it went from nobody to everyone. And not so long ago, in the last few years, lost a very young family member. And it was horrible, who I dedicated this book to, actually.
Oh, I'm
And I
so
think,
sorry.
oh, thank you.
Mhm.
And it really makes you look at the world differently and realize how kind of fleeting our time here is and how fragile we are. And I just felt like my life was so much about this thing. And so with Maeve, it was like I felt so out of power. And writing that book made me feel powerful, even in this
Mhm.
fictional setting. And like, again, like, nobody emulate Maeve, but like, she does get to walk through the world in a way that women a lot of times don't get to. And so
Right.
it's this sort of
Yeah.
fantasy feeling of getting to be the most powerful person on the street,
Mhm.
walking
Mhm.
outside at night.
Yeah.
And that felt good. And that was kind of like, all of that book was like things that felt good to me. And I was like,
Yeah.
yes, I can just sort of like dive in and rage and have like smutty, weird, gross scenes and be,
Crazy.
yeah, exactly. And I got into hockey. I've never been like a sports person, but it was just like this sort of like testosterone feeling,
Mhm.
or whatever it is, like it's
Right.
adrenaline, I guess.
Right.
And then American Rapture, I was like, well, the religion thing's always been there for me. That's always been kind of, there's a lot of
Right.
sort of
Especially because you're from
indignation.
Texas, I
Yeah.
imagine there's a little even more so.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very present in my
Yes.
life. So that was an easy thing to be like,
Mhm.
okay, well, it's not this for me. Like,
Mhm.
this feels like a problem. So let me try and look at this problem. And all of this, like looking at all of these things, felt great and did help. But then it was like there was just the core of the thing, which was I was so sad. And so like I think
Yeah.
headlights kind of saved me, because I felt like I didn't have like a lot of hope in the universe in terms of like that we could have like real purpose or meaning, with so many losses, and understanding like we're
Yeah, what
gonna
is it
no,
all for after this? Yes.
yeah, and I don't mean to sound like the biggest like downer in the world, but like the truth is, at some
Mhm.
point in our lives we encounter or are really confronted with is like everyone we know is going to die
Mm-hmm.
and we're going to die and we don't know in what order or who's going to be grieving who and when. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, that's profound and
it's
true. Yes,
significant. That's
yes,
like, to me, that's the most significant thing that we live with. And
right.
so I wrote 400 pages about it, and I came to something that really gave me a lot of hope and comfort. And this book just kind of feels like me. It won't resonate with everyone because,
Mhm.
that's how it always goes. But like maybe someone might read this and be like, oh, maybe that is a possibility. It's sort of just like a little
Yeah.
maybe,
What,
perhaps.
without spoiling anything from the book itself, what is the realization of optimism that you've come to?
Oh, it's hard. I mean,
And so many
well,
things.
I have an answer. I just am trying,
Right.
I think I got locked out of my house one night, which is something that never happened to me. Also, this like we're very careful with keys, and I have OCD. Like I don't like lose stuff like that. And
Right.
we got locked out, my boyfriend and I did, and one of our dogs and the other three dogs were in the house. And it was nighttime in California, and nobody had a key within 2 hours of us.
Right.
We didn't have our car keys or wallets or anything, so we were just sort of outside, and we were out there for a long time, and it was in the midst of kind of all this stuff. And I looked in at the dogs sleeping in our house, and I just had this like idea. And I thought, oh my God, maybe this is it. And then I put it in the book. So I'm not really answering your question right now,
Right.
but I would say,
Right. Read the book and then this will
yeah,
this will
yeah,
make
exactly.
all
And see what you think, because I
yeah,
think,
yeah. Mhm.
none of us can know anything. So
I love that. Yeah. I love the way you think about the world too.
thank
It's just
you.
so, yeah, you're so thoughtful and introspective. And I guess, would you say extrospective? You look outside and observe the things and the way people, like humans and human emotion. I just think your outlook is so incredible. And
Thank you.
yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna call my mom, because growing up, she was always like, you don't have to analyze everything. And
Like, but I
I do.
hopefully she's happy for you now.
Oh yeah. She'll be stoked. She'll love that.
I love that so much. So one thing I also especially loved seeing as someone in Colorado was that obviously Headlights is also set in Colorado. And I mean, I hate to say this, I shouldn't say that I was like slightly skeptical. I'm like, she's really good at her research, but I'm like, will
Fair.
I, feel like this is true, as
Yeah.
Coloradan? Because we
Yeah.
always do that too, as Coloradans. We're like, oh, you're not a native. Do you really know what's going on here? But as someone who, lives in Colorado and I'm organizing a horror festival here, I was really like impressed with the way that you built out the setting and just like I could tell that not only did you spend a lot of time in Colorado, but you really understood and got to know, the people here, the quirks, just, I mean, I don't even know how you did it. It was just so believable. Like I really did what I was able as a Colorado girl to suspend my disbelief and really feel like, yes, this is someone. Yeah, it was
I'm
perfect.
so
Even
glad.
I'm actually sad that not everyone that's going to read this is going to be from Colorado, because I feel like that makes it even better. Even the way that you portray Greeley, just right on. You drive into the town and you're like, holy crap, literally.
Yeah, I hope the Greeley people still like me. Greeley is beautiful.
Yeah,
Uh,
it is. It
it's
is.
beautiful. But yeah,
Mhm.
there's
The
a
college is very beautiful. But
yeah.
yes, there is a very profound smell, especially when you first drive into that. Yeah, it's very
Thank
pervasive.
you. Thank you for saying all of that. That makes me, I'm so stoked, because you figure you're gonna get stuff wrong. But like
Mhm.
I had 6 authenticity readers on this book for many different things, and 3 of them were Colorado people, where I was just like, 2 of them were born and raised lifelong Colorado people, and one of them was someone who had transplanted a couple years ago. And sometimes the transplants have, it's easier to see a
Mhm.
thing you don't know so innately. But I grew up spending a lot of time in Colorado. I have family out there. So I went probably like 4
Mhm.
times a year my whole life. But you only really see your own little pocket. So it was really fun exploring this place. And I feel like
Mhm.
Colorado's so magical. And probably everybody listening to this already follows, but you all should be following the Southern Colorado Women in Horror Instagram and festival, because I think this is something, like I said, like really special that is going to keep growing. And there's so many amazing community, there's so many amazing communities in Colorado who actually come together and
Mhm.
actually, like celebrate all the things, books in this case, but also wildlife and the outdoors. And there are just so many groovy people.
Thank you for saying that. And yeah, we appreciate you. And you are a definite, I would say, an honorary Coloradan now. So if
Oh my
no one
gosh,
else,
it is
we'll
like
give
the
that award to
research.
you at the event.
Whoa, it's like the best day of my life. What I wonder what would like come with that. Like, am I now like a deadhead? Like some like did it
Oh,
like incept
yeah.
into me?
Yeah. Deadhead. What is it? Fish. And
Yeah. I'm now wearing a fish t-shirt
yep,
suddenly.
exactly. Yeah. You have to join a jam band and you're already a hiker. So you already have that.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Yeah, I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
The
of course.
research is fun. Like
Mhm. Yeah.
I think I'd always rather be late with a book than hand in something that I feel like I didn't like do as much as I could have, you know?
Yes. Yeah, and I think that's wonderful that you're able to, know that about yourself and, hopefully I don't know the, inner workings of working with your publisher as
Yeah,
how
they're gonna hear
how
this and be
patient they
like,
are, but
drop her right now.
they're like, please hurry up. But that's wonderful. I'm glad I speak for everyone that reads your work right now as far as appreciate the time and effort that you take. And I always learn something from your fiction. Like I love that part about it that I feel like there's always like a piece of trivia or something, or I'm like, oh, this is a song I need to add to my playlist. I've never heard
That's
this before.
awesome.
I think
That's
that's
my
kind of fun as a
dream.
nerd.
No,
Little
that's like the best. This is like, I'm never gonna be someone's like dad, but I feel like that's like the most dad thing about me is like anything I ever learn, I just like want to tell people. I want to be like, hey, do you know this? Like, do you know why this happens this way? And I feel that about myself. So I just channel it into the books so I
yeah.
don't
And you're like,
I
yeah, exactly.
everyone.
You're like, you're going to know this fact that I wanted
Yeah,
to.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna explain it to you right now, actually, so.
I love that. Well, I've seen a little conversation online around headlights having a male main character, especially because, obviously your earlier work is so associated with female rage and women-centered horror. How has that felt from your perspective?
I think I thought that folks were not going to be as caught up or like hung up on it as they
Mhm.
maybe have been, but a lot of folks aren't. I mean,
Right.
I think at the end of the day, like we're just people, and there are differences. There are things
Of
women
course.
deal with that men will never have to deal with in our
Mhm.
society, and that is just true and also sucks. No one should have to deal with a lot of these things.
Mhm.
And but there's so much that is also universal about human
Mhm.
experience, like this death thing and like fear and love and want and hope. And so I even got caught up on like, oh, I have to write a male protagonist from his perspective and make it believable. And then like it was so forced and silly and kind of performative feeling in the text. And then I looked at it and I thought like, I just need to write him like a person. And
Mhm.
as soon as I just thought like a human being, it almost made me realize like how little that stuff can also matter. Like it was just it was
Right.
fascinating.
That is fascinating, actually. That's a really good point. I think there's a lot that does feel contrived if you're trying to, write a character to fit into this gender. Like, what is that? The gender normative. It comes off so, yeah,
Yeah, it's a made
inauthentic.
up because it doesn't exist, because it's
Yeah,
a made up
exactly.
thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing that that kind of clicked for you, right? So it sounds like, I guess my next question was, did writing from a male perspective shift anything for you creatively, or did it feel like, connected to the same themes you've explored?
It was, I think, more than the male perspective. It was the fact that I wrote a main character this time who was like such a sweetie, like such a
Yeah.
fundamentally like he's trying so hard to be a good guy. My other characters really were so, Maeve is Maeve, and Sophie is. I mean, I kind of feel like Sophie can do no wrong in my eyes. She's like, I just want to like I want her to fight and I want all of us to
Mhm.
fight for her. And
Mhm.
I think Daniel, though, he's just, I don't know, like he's so tortured because he tries so hard to do the right thing and sometimes in life there isn't a right thing. You know, and you can't save everyone and you can't help everyone. And that it's like that's so hard for him to realize and understand and he has a hard go of it.
Yes.
He has a hard
Yes.
life.
Yes.
I want to hug him all the time. But
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
really like
Yeah.
so much comes down to just people just want to be seen and loved and taken care of and know where home is and who their people are. And I think these are
Mhm.
just such innate things in us. And so it was kind of a lovely experience getting to look at that.
That's amazing. Absolutely. So, moving on from headlights, I could talk about headlights forever, but of course, we don't have forever. But I am excited for your headlights tour coming
Yay,
very soon
thank you.
next week, right? Is that when it kicks off after StokerCon or
Yeah, it
actually?
starts officially, it's like a little less than 2 weeks from now. But then, yeah, there's Stoker and I'm doing PGH Book Fest too before that. So
Amazing. Oh,
it's like
awesome.
little
Yeah.
pieces
Yes.
early.
Yeah, and you're actually making it out to Colorado. Very excited about that. We'll get to see you at the Tattered Cover at Aspen Grove. Is that
It'll be
June
really
12th?
fun.
I will
It'll
be
be really
there, but
fun.
amazing. Yep, with Lauren Deering. She's amazing.
She's amazing. And
Mhm.
again, it's like so many cool Colorado people. We
Mhm.
actually we haven't really announced this yet, but we have like cute little giveaway items from another local Colorado spot I really love. And where I'm about to do a post about it, but I have these road trip maps for
Mhm.
headlights. So if anybody wants to like go see the Colorado places that are mentioned in the book, but also just the places like I stayed when I was working on it, or, you know, lots of little like tidbits. So that'll be really cool.
That's incredible. I'm going to pick up one and make my husband do that with me.
Why not?
Yes,
What I
totally.
really recommend is just driving out in Yampa. Like that was like one of the most beautiful. I really loved doing that. That was really cool.
I know. I've loved growing up in Colorado from the small towns, all the way to the mountain towns. There is so much. I also in headlights I loved what you did with explaining how it is funny that there's these prairie towns in the plains at the foot of the mountains and some people think everything in Colorado is just, over in the snowy, mountain, in
Yeah,
a cabin thing, but it's just not like that.
it's
Um
not like that.
yeah,
But the
yeah.
planes are amazing. And I think like that was
Mhm.
also like a cool thing for me to learn about and realize is like
Mhm.
there's actually so much life. It's like the desert, like
Yeah.
in these flat lands and
Mhm.
thinking about times in which you can still see some bison, you know, in
Yeah.
Colorado, but there used to probably be so many. And I
I
just,
know. I've also seen you talk a little online about your larger America project.
yeah.
Plus your book. I don't know. So I have only just barely heard little whispers or seen little things. Are you able to talk a little about that?
Yeah. I mean, well, so just kind of like what I want to, my whole thing I want to do as an author, and Maeve was my first book that came out, but it was the third book at that time that I had written. And one of them has never seen the light of day, but is like I mean, it's a trucker novel, so it's very much like the whole country. But I've always wanted to write sort of catalog America and Americana culture kind of place by place. And I love it here, which feels crazy to say sometimes given things going on. And sometimes I'm like, I really don't love it here, you know, when I watch the news or anything else. And we have a lot we need to figure out. And at the same time, we do have a lot to celebrate within our sort of like regional communities and microcosmic communities, sort of interacting within this like greater American whole. It's fascinating. And I feel very connected to it and very much like I'm always baffled by it and want to understand it better, even though I've lived here my whole life. So that, yeah, that is kind of my project. And I'm going East Coast next. Going to New York City is my fourth book. And
Okay.
then my fifth one is another big sweeping. That one's the most states in one book that I will have done yet. So
I'm thinking you probably can't give anything away, but I'm thinking serial killer.
no.
No, darn it.
But that'd be great. Maybe that's yours. Maybe there's like something
Right.
percolating.
Exactly. I'll write it out.
Perfect.
Going back to kind of end on the feminist side of things, since it says women in war, podcast, something I noticed in Maeve Fly is how performative femininity can be, even for someone like Maeve. So, like, what fascinated me about Maeve is that she's, a psychopath, but she's still deeply aware of performing femininity and likability. So even someone detached from, like normal morality is like still understands the social value of being perceived, as pleasant. Was that something you were consciously exploring while writing her?
I mean, totally. And especially growing up, I grew up in Texas as a woman, and I think there were very clear parameters in which,
Mm-hmm.
we're supposed to carry ourselves.
Yeah.
And, the worst thing you could ever be when I was a kid, the worst image anybody could ever paint of you is being like an angry woman.
Yes.
And I never really allowed myself to feel angry growing up probably because of a lot of cultural conditioning, but also like I'm a sensitive person. Like I don't like negative feedback. Like I don't enjoy debating things with people. Like I'm not out here trying to ever be aggro in a way I don't need to be. I got into hockey, but even then, like I feel sad for the losing team. Like that's the person I am. So like I think I learned I didn't want conflict.
Right.
And because of that, and because anger is a normal human emotion, and I probably
Mhm.
didn't really let myself feel it for the first like 20 something years of my life, almost 30 years. I think I wrote Maeve when I was 29. It came out, and it came out in this way where it was like rage and it was like crazy, and rage is a word I never would have used. So yeah, that's what happens when you bottle up your emotions. Like it comes out in this bizarro flood.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, that's
luckily
interesting. I
in
just
fiction.
realized, yeah, I just realized a through line a little bit of, that just made me think. So it's not just, it's men and women when they bottle up their anger and emotions, because men in a different way are told to, anger as expressed in a certain type of way is seen as okay for men, but not if it's expressed in an emotional way or, a what is seen as a feminine way. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's just like repression on both sides that is happening in this sort of like patriarchal. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. And like
yeah.
Daniel's gonna be the one out here crying, and
Mm-hmm.
not Maeve.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe
All
Sophie,
right.
but not a ton. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think all of that is so silly in this
Yeah,
grand scheme of it. It's so silly.
it
We're
is.
just we're just all feeling it all, and we just need to support each other. Like it's just and allow everyone to be human beings and give people good coping mechanisms and support systems so that when they feel big feelings, inevitably, that, we all have ways to deal with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to ask a couple more questions follow up on that, but I feel like that would just totally taint that extremely positive message. And it was beautiful. So I'm like, I'm not even going to dive into any more of the rage stuff.
We'll put a pin in the rage. It
I'll
always
put a pin
comes
in
back,
No, yeah, it always comes, but I'm like that was just too beautiful. So do you think women in horror like are still expected to justify monstrosity more than, male characters are?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, all the time. Yeah, I think women in horror are met with so much scrutiny, and I always wonder like how much I want to get into about anything. But yes, I mean, yes, I fully think that.
Mhm.
And I think that I've talked before about not wanting to be solely defined by being a woman writing horror. But the
Right.
thing is, I just am. And it's always going to be who I am, and I'm always going to write characters that I perceive to be really strong female characters and
Mhm.
who I admire, even if they're crazy, or who I criticize but love in
Mhm.
my imaginative world. And they're always going to probably be feminist books in my mind because I feel that I'm very much a feminist because I just believe in equality.
Right.
So, what a crazy
Imagine
idea.
that.
Imagine that. So it's always going to be there. So I
Mhm.
think it's probably like anything else. It's like I grew up in Texas and New York, and I think both of those things are just always going to be in my books too. And it's all a part of it. And people can define stuff however they want. But yeah, I think women receive a lot of silly scrutiny in This and every genre.
True.
This and
In the
every
world.
profession.
Everything
Yep.
you do.
Across the board.
As a mother, in profession.
Yeah, and if you're not a mother,
If you're not a
everything.
mother.
It's just
Yeah.
like you can't
Mhm.
win.
Yeah,
Can't.
we might as well write horror.
So you might as well do what you want. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. I love that.
Do you think horror allows women to express other things, other genres still resist? I know we kind of touched on this a little bit, but
I think so. I think the cool thing about horror to me, other than being this huge term that can mean so many things, is like I do think it's so hugely important to sit with some of these topics and feelings. And death is such a big part of our lives. And I totally get it. Like most people can't or won't or don't want to sit and look at death all day long. And that's probably more normal and healthier. But to me, like I can't look away from it. And I want to understand this thing so badly, or have wanted to understand it, that I think I like being somebody who sits and sort of looks at the darkness all day long. And I just try to see if there's some kind of any tiny ounce of light I can find there and turn around and bring it back to people who don't want to be doing this. And maybe
right.
that's like any profession with anything. Like maybe you just sort of, maybe that's what we do. And I think
Yeah.
that's a pretty cool thing to get to do in this world. And people take it or don't, and they resonate with it or they don't, but it's all these books are an offering,
Yeah. Yeah, I love that answer. And I think too, I don't think that's unhealthy. I mean, maybe someone might be happier if they're not facing those things and
Yeah.
they avoid it, maybe in some ways. But I think it's also like shutting down a part of life and living and the beauty. Like there's beauty in it when you examine death and in the contrast, of the dark and the light, there you can discover real meaning and beauty, and that you may
Yeah.
miss out on. Yeah.
And that's to
Mhm.
me like the Colorado landscape, why I loved it for this book and this
Mhm.
story. To me, it's a landscape that feels so kind of formidable and a little bit foreboding. And like those Rockies are no joke. And anyone who's driven those mountain roads in the winter at night, like those turns and the fact that you
Mhm.
can only see so far in front of you in your headlights at any given time. And yet it's so beautiful too. And it
Mhm.
can be so gentle and it can be like the loveliest. And all of that feels like if there was sort of a landscape, a physical landscape, topographical version of what this like human experience is of understanding like death and life and mortality and our place here, is like it's terrifying and it's amazing.
Yeah. I'm like, again, can't beat that. It's true. That's Colorado too in a nutshell. That's life in a nutshell. And yeah, you really captured that in Headlights. And
Thank you.
what are you optimistic about for the future as a woman writing horror, or for women writing horror?
Well, I see a lot of women getting to do it, and it's freaking awesome. And I think we're just going to have more and more. And I think it's going to keep getting easier for folks to write whatever they want to write and be whoever they want to be. And I think
Mhm.
this is a community that, as a whole, really looks out for each other
Mhm.
and really wants to advocate for each other and support each other. It's a very non-competitive community, which is amazing. Like it could be different, you know?
Mhm.
It's really like I don't see that. I see people supporting each other and lifting each other up and sharing each other's good news on their pages. And man, like what an amazing thing to get to be a part of.
Oh,
Like that's
absolutely.
crazy,
Yes.
right? We're
You do
so
not see
lucky.
that. You do not see that as like in many other places. I've worked in corporate life and even in higher education before. And, after coming into the horror community, I've, really been more involved with it, in the past few years. When I discovered kind of like I've heard a lot of people like, oh, I'm actually a horror writer. Yeah, it's just incredible. I had a little PTSD coming into it at first, where I was like, oh, people, you actually can trust people. They're sincere when they have your back and they're trying to
Yeah.
champion you and support you. And
Yeah,
it's
it's
crazy.
amazing.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
I think it's the coolest. I think it's so cool. And I think
Mhm.
maybe it does point to what we were talking about before. Maybe it is healthy to sit
Yeah.
and look at the dark stuff because these are like the friendliest, sweetest folks on the planet. So
Yes.
it's,
Yes.
you know,
More well adjusted than
yeah, it's kind of like people who listen to like, and I'm generalizing, don't
right.
general, I
Of
should
course.
not
Yeah.
generalize, but here I am doing it. But, you know, it's like a lot of folks who listen to a lot of like hardcore or, you know, really, really heavy types of metal, death and
Mhm.
black metal and all the things. It's
Yeah.
like those are the sweetest people you'll ever meet. You know,
Yeah.
you go to a
Yeah.
metal bar, like everybody's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yes, my husband is a huge like heavy metal fan, and
love
I've
it.
been to so many concerts with him. I love it myself, but like, I like so many
Yeah.
other things. But yeah, I think that's so true what you said. It is like that, like people that deal, I guess that is like I'm actually excited at StokerCon. There is a panel that is actually about heavy metal and horror. And I
No
think that
way.
yeah. And I think
Cool.
there is a lot of connection there, people that are willing to to like look at that darkness and live in it. They might actually be, a little more well-adjusted, kinder people. I'm going to generalize as well.
I'm generalizing and giving advice.
Yeah,
Be spooky, listen to
there you go.
metal,
Moral of the story. Okay.
read scary
Uh,
books.
so we always do a little pay it forward question on this show so far. And so I would like to ask, what's a book by a woman or non-binary author you'd recommend our listeners pick up right now? Oh, and you can absolutely name more than one.
Okay, cool. Have you read yet? Oh my gosh. Well, no, like 50 are coming to mind, obviously. But the last book I finished reading was Kiss Slay Replay. And
Mhm.
that's Rachel Harrison's new one, which is amazing. I did though, there are so many. I'm gonna leave it at one because once I get going, but all to say, the fact that you ask that question and my brain goes to like 100 people is the coolest thing there is.
Yes.
So I don't
Absolutely.
know. DM me if you want more. I'll make a big old list.
I love that. I may follow up on that, or everyone. She said she would give you a list. So, but if there were one, Rachel Harrison, obviously a must read. Do you have first that comes to mind also an indie published female or
Well,
non-binary?
yeah, so many. I just finished a Haley Piper book, and I always love her books.
Oh gosh,
Uh,
yeah.
I mean, there are so many.
You've probably gotten to read the ones that I'm just dying to read. What is it? The last film you're about to see, is that right? And
I
then,
haven't read it yet. No,
or
but I feel
no?
like no, it's probably amazing.
And is it she's not like herself, or
I
have you read
don't
that one
know. I was just reading Cranberry Cove, and
yet? Okay,
I'm like
so
partway through A Game in Yellow. Or is it called A Game
oh,
in Yellow?
The
It's
Gaming
really
Yellow.
good. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
She's
that's what I knew. Yeah, she's amazing. Amazing. Those are great recommendations. I appreciate that.
yeah.
And yeah, I also want to mention to all of our listeners, well, by the time this airs, it may already be outside of pre-order, but I wanted to really highlight how amazing I think it is that your pre-order proceeds for Headlights are helping support an animal sanctuary
Yeah.
in Colorado.
It's an organization that they support two Front Range wildlife refuges. So they do all kinds of things like get folks from the inner city out to the wildlife refuges and get them to kind of learn more about how they can be interacting with wildlife in Colorado. And they also like kind of, I think, help fundraise for both of those places. And yeah, it's super cool. Friends of the Front Range Wildlife Refuges is the organization.
Yeah, and I'll include that in the show notes as well. But that's amazing. I love hearing about authors using their releases to support causes that they care about. And we appreciate that. So we're also really excited to have you joining us as a keynote guest at the SoCo Women in Horror Festival at the Mining Exchange Hotel in Colorado Springs. I've been calling it the Stanley of Southern Colorado because I like to think it's haunted as well. But very excited to have more announcements around that to come. And before we wrap up, where can listeners follow you and keep up with everything you have coming next?
I am on Instagram and Blue Sky and Threads, but mostly Instagram, and it's Siege the Moment. And yeah, I don't know. I'll see you all at Stoker. I'm so excited.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And if you're not following CJ yet, what have you been doing? Everyone be sure. Yeah, and everyone be sure to pick up Headlights, which is out June 9th from Tor. So CJ, thank you again so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That's all for today's episode of Uncanny Women. If you enjoyed this conversation, subscribe to catch our weekly episodes. You can also follow us at Uncanny Women Podcast and at Women in Horror Festival Co. See you next time.